This review was made possible by contributions from viewers like you.
Hey guys, we're here at SoCal Games and Comics celebrating Free Comic Book Day, which can be used as a way to introduce new readers to superheroes who are a bit more obscure than, say, Batman or Spider-Man. With that, let's talk about Captain Canuck. The cover features what looks like a Canatriotic Deadpool looking at the reader in kind of a threatening manner. He must be the one not nice Canadian. The original guardian of the true North is back. Like you've never seen him before. I have never seen him before, so there's not a whole lot of punch to that statement. The inside cover offers us a little backstory. Born of the true North and tested in war, because Canada is well known for its long history of warfare. Captain Canuck is a soldier granted the choice of how to use incredible power that could alter the fate of the world. He used that power to create little slices of ham and call it bacon. The world was never the same again. Thrust into battle at the head of the global crisis intervention agency called Equilibrium, Canuck must find his way as warrior, leader, and ultimately, hero to save humanity from the machinations of Blue Fox, Mr. Gold, and even more menacing forces that watch from the shadows. More menacing forces, like the Purple Horseshoe or the Green Clover Gang. Captain Canuck is a ground-up reboot of the classic Canadian comic book hero first published in 1975. Toss him on the grill and slap him on a sesame seed bun, and that's some good eating. We open on Trinity Test Site, Alamogordo, New Mexico, July 16th, 1945. We've destroyed so much. Who's we? I'm standing right here. We then cut to Vostok 1, Low Earth Orbit, April 12th, 1961. But we've also stood tall and reached to the stars. Maybe you want to show a Canadian spacecraft reaching for the stars, but whatever. If the time ever came for us all to be laid bare, stripped of our justifications and judged... That's not a complete sentence. Would the scales tip? Would one outweigh the other? And which truly defines us? Wow, who knew the Canadians were so pessimistic? Yeah, all of this pretentious narration, it's got nothing to do with the story. Maybe it's all supposed to be set up for issue number 1, since this is a number 0 that we're looking at here, but in the context of the book itself, it serves no purpose. We see a nuclear testing site, a Soviet spacecraft, some guy seeing something fall from the sky in Canada's Northwest Territories, and I presume it all has something to do with Barney the dinosaur infected by Brainiac here, but it's never followed up in this issue. We then cut to present-day Alberta, where an oil refinery has caught fire. Assessing the situation is Captain Canuck, flying in a helicopter along with a handful of teammates. They detect some survivors lost among the wreckage, prompting the captain to leap out to their aid. Wow! Is it okay that I said that? Anything you gotta do to make this comic look more exciting. And, I'm not even kidding here, this is the end of the story. Captain Canuck leaps out of a helicopter to pull some people out of a fire, and then boom, continued in Captain Canuck number 1. I'm so glad this comic exists. It did so much to illustrate the captain as a character, as well as his supporting cast, his basic mission, his enemies. This was a solid comic. Yeah, about as solid as a hockey rink in Mexico. Hopefully, Fist of Justice number 1 will be a bit more entertaining than that. I gotta say, this cover is making me feel pretty comfortable with what to expect. The titular Fist of Justice kinda looks like Superman if he was designed by Jack Kirby. We have what looks like an evil mirror duplicate of the fist, a Luke Cage knockoff, some disembodied floating heads. It looks like this big premiere issue wants us to have its beginnings in the Silver Age along with so many other classic heroes. Fine by me. I'd rather take someone inspired by the classics than the next generation of hero. We open on Mark Mason, the civilian identity of the Fist of Justice, narrating to us that he had done a pretty decent job of fighting crime in Charm City, until some high-collared supervillain kills his wife/girlfriend. I'm not exactly sure what happened next. My mind was reeling, and all I could think about was how bad I just messed up.
I'll say, now he looks like Statler from the Muppets!
Apparently, Dr. Dybuke here kept the Fist in an insane asylum for decades. Why not just kill him? Until not Dr. Fate shows up to set him free and revert him back to the prime of his life. He's able to defeat Dr. Dybuke in a big dust cloud, leading us to assume that he just demolished his asylum with the doctor inside of it. But again, he's been locked up for decades, so he goes looking for some help to acclimate himself to his new environment. It isn't long before he runs into that Liefeldian guy on the cover who has taken up the mantle of the new Fist of Justice, except this new guy likes to employ more lethal methods of his superheroing. They duke it out, and he pounds the crap out of Fist Classic, and leaves him for dead. Luckily, he's able to drag himself to the apartment of his old partner, Blacklight, whose costume doesn't look very Blacklight responsive. Blacklight helps patch up his wounds and get him back on his feet. All of which brings us to the here and now. Remember how I said the most important part of what I was going to say was that I was Fist of Justice? Well, that was a lie. The most important part was that I loved you, and never had the guts to tell you. Still better than Sam Witwicky not dropping the L-bomb on Michaela. News reports of Fist Classic start popping up, which makes New Fist want to remind the city that he's the one who gets things done around here. He demonstrates this by finding some drug dealers in a warehouse somewhere and demolishing it right on top of their heads. Nice! He then goes looking for Dr. Dybuke, and his methods of finding him are shaking up random people. Seriously, he terrorizes a dozen different people, and it's never explained what kind of connection they may have with him. Does he figure that if he beats up enough people, he'll eventually come across one of Dybuke's allies? Sounds like Littlefoot finding where he has to go by wandering aimlessly throughout the world. Meanwhile, Fist Classic considers throwing in the towel, but Blacklight convinces him that Charm City needs the real Fist of Justice. It starts to rain later that night as Fist Classic is out for patrol, when New Fist shows up and they duke it out. New Fist has Fist Classic bound with a cable around his neck, and what does he do?
He starts monologuing.
He explains his backstory to Fist Classic, back when he was just a janitor who witnessed his final battle with Dr. Dybuke. Fist Classic says that Dybuke should just kill him now, since he just killed his reason for being. Then, as he takes the Fist to be locked away, Fist's powers leave him and possess the body of New Fist. You had to have known that was how it worked, right? That once you decide to give it up, the power goes somewhere else. You had to have known! Why does he have to have known that? Superpowers don't work that way. New Fist was apparently promised by Dr. Dybuke that he'll keep his powers so long as Fist Classic is locked away, and their fight eventually takes them to the docks. New Fist is eventually brought down with the help of Blacklight and these two doctors, who I think work at the same asylum that Fist Classic was trapped in for the last 30 years, since they proceed to take New Fist there themselves. If Fist Classic had connections with the asylum staff, why didn't they try to orchestrate some kind of escape with them before now? Since Fist Classic is now the only Fist in town, he offers Blacklight the chance to be his partner again. He turns the offer down, partially because he's too old to get back into the costume, but also because the name Blacklight just wouldn't work in today's PC world. What's that about? It's a long story. I've got 30 years of catching up to do. I'm sure we can find the time to squeeze it in somewhere. So that was Fist of Justice number 1, and it's a pretty good read. The story is concise, to the point, but still complete. The characters are relatable, if a bit archetypal. The villains are vague enough to allow for some mystery about them, but not in a way that makes you question why they're villains in the first place. And it's nice seeing a classic hero driving the point home that you don't need extreme methods when fighting crime. Just take down the bad guys and put them away. That's all you need to do. Since we've seen what happens when someone else tries to take on the mantle of the Fist of Justice, tune in next week when we'll see what happens when some other people try to be the Avengers.
Oh, I wish I was back in old Canada, a land which I never shall lampoon. How I pine for the ice-covering Lake Manitoba and the beauty that is Saskatoon.
I got one. Oh, I wish I was stuck in the hills of Alberta, drinking beer with some big dumb guy trapping fur. As he scraped and he chiseled all the moose dung off his boots, I would learn that he's the Prime Minister.
Oh, stop that!
Oh, I wish I was in the land that gave us Peter Jennings, Alanis Morissette, Mike Myers too.
Yeah.
No, I take that back, I wouldn't go there even if you paid me. Oh, Canada, you are a place I must eschew.
Now, this is not in the spirit that I intended.
Oh, come on, give in. I mean, after all, they gave us Ed the Sock and Rush.
Yeah, what are you defending? They're such thieves.
Okay, I'll try.
All right, good man.
Oh, I wish I was blowing up Prince Edward Island and going on to bomb Ontario. The destruction of Canada and all of its culture is by far my favorite scenario.
Okay, I mean, that's a little strong. You gotta back
No,
it
you were
down.
right, Mike. This is much more fun. Just where the hell does Canada get off sharing a border with countries far superior to it?
Yikes.
Why, you lousy, stinking, francophonic, bacon-loving bastards! Your country's just a giant piece of...
Okay, I think that's enough. I think we bunch of Cambot. Okay, thanks. All right.
Sorry. I have no sense of proportion. I'm a disgrace to my uniform.
No, that's okay. Now calm down. Now we mustn't hate.
At least so overtly.
Exactly right. Must disguise our hate just a little. Okay, we'll be right back. Shh. It's okay now, Dudley. Calm down.
Pardonnez-moi. Pardonnez-moi.
It's a long story. I've got 30 years of catching up to do. I'm sure we can find the time to squeeze it in somewhere.
That all sounds very, very suggestive. It's a long story. I'm sure we'll find the time to squeeze it in somewhere.
Ew.
Subscribe, like, follow, comment, share, watch more.